So now we're going to go over to a cockpit display of what you're going to see in the aircraft from the left seat. And here we're going to offer a technique for developing a flow when preparing for your approach. So before you start rambling into your briefing and you start getting things incorrect, let's get the approach set up first. So number one, we're going to start in the center at the FMS. So number one, we're going to build our approach. We're going to load it up in the FMS. Two, we're going to go to our RTU. And here we're going to tune our nav aids. And here is where I'm going to get my course guidance from. If I need a bearing pointer from the ADF for station passage, or maybe I'm getting course or DME guidance from a TAC-in frequency, whatever. I just want to make sure that my nav aids are tuned appropriately. Next, I'm going to go up to my DSP. And make sure that my display select panel is selected appropriately for my nav aids. I want to make sure that my bearing pointer guidance and my course and DME guidance are appropriately set. And I can also set my minimums here on the decision altitude. Step 4, we're going to verify. Now there's a couple places we want to verify what we said in the DSP is correct. First one being the EHSI. So my flow is now going to take me to my EHSI. And here, I'm going to make sure that I have 4 things correctly set. First one being bearing pointer. Next is going to be course guidance. Three is going to be my actual course, and 4, DME. So from the DSP, I'm going to go over to my EHSI, and remember that the EHSI never lies to me. It's going to tell me what I actually have set up in my DSP. And these planes are kind of old, so the DSP knobs for your bearing and course guidance may give you false indications of what you actually have set. That's why I'm going to go to my EHSI next and verify that I have my bearing pointer, my course guidance, my DME, and my actual course set appropriately and correct. Next in the verification, I'm going to go to my minimums. So I'm going to look at my EADI and my radar altimeter to make sure that those are both set for my approach. So I'm going to look at my EADI and radar altimeter. Next, in the process of my flow, I'm going to go over to my airspeed indicator. And I'm going to make sure that my approach speed is correct. Now, 2 things I want to consider are what kind of flap configuration am I doing for this approach and what's my fuel state. And then I'm going to set that speed appropriately. Next, I'm going to go down to my comm panel. And I'm going to tune, identify, and monitor my approach based on whatever nav aids I need to hear the beeps and squeaks. And finally, once I've done all this and I'm sure it's correct and I've verified it, I'm now going to go into my approach briefing for the crew. All right. Now, let's kind of take a step back and look at this. I'm going to go change the color here. There's a certain flow and a certain pattern and a certain way that this technique offers. It's going to start down at the bottom in the center pedestal. It's going to go up and then to the left. Why this is a good technique in our opinion is because it doesn't allow for you to randomly start pulling knobs, setting settings, setting altitude, setting speeds. Nope, it has a nice pattern and a nice flow of how you should prepare for your approach. And if you continue to follow this, you should have everything that's required for your approach. So start from the bottom at the FMS, work your way up to the RTU, DSP. Then I'm going to go to verifying the EHSI, my EADI, and my radar altimeter. Then I'm going to select my speed, and then I'm going to tune, identify, monitor on my comm panel. And then once I've verified with those, I'm going to brief. Another couple techniques here that I'll offer. Let me change color here. There we go. Once I've done this whole thing, just to kind of verify everything, I could also do a D-lids check or my double lids check. So first one is DSP. I'll make sure my approach is loaded. You can put localizer, or in general, what we mean by this is course guidance. Because obviously, you may not be flying a localizer approach. Maybe you have a TAC-in or VOR, but in general, I want my course guidance. Next one is going to be my actual inbound course. I'm going to ident, so part of that tune identify monitor. DME, is my DME source appropriately set? And then finally speeds. Again, you don't have to use both of these. You don't have to use one versus the other. You don't have to use either of them. This is just a technique for you in preparation for setting up an approach and then getting into the briefing.